Hey everyone, welcome to Fleet Week. I hope you had a great session this morning. This session is future proofing campus communications for enhanced outcomes. We're going to be talking about how to leverage unified communications in Teams, Zoom, or WebEx. Doesn't matter which platform you're using to create a smarter campus, to create a more connected campus, and to drive outcomes in higher education. Communications today has changed dramatically for students, for faculty and staff, and it's never changing back. There was some thought that in 2020, when everything had to go remote, is this temporary? Is this the new future? Then, as we came out of the pandemic, and in the business world, return to office actually was preceded by return to campus as students started coming back to campus. But what does the future look like? And the future is radically different than the past, or even some elements of the present, because there are still a lot of dependencies on legacy systems to facilitate communications among students, faculty, and staff. When we think about the challenges of these three constituencies communicating, collaborating with each other, it really starts by boiling down the fact that just a decade ago we were dependent on an entirely different set of quote unquote channels. Universities really had adopted the innovation of email. Physical bulletin boards were still out there for students as they were on campus to learn about different things. And legacy phone systems were commonplace for faculty to be in their offices collaborating with researchers, with students, with admin. Each student had an analog phone line in their dorm rooms. That has slowly started to recede. But today's users, all constituencies across the campus, not just the often vilified millennials and their younger counterparts. Um, Everyone is a digital native. We're all using digital channels to communicate in addition to voice channels. And what's increasingly coming into focus is that a lot of the campus infrastructures that have been built and deployed over the past decade are not ready and cannot support this expanding surface area where communications are happening. There's a ton of fragmentation. You've got these disparate systems that were adopted tactically to patch a need. So all of a sudden, my faculty needs to communicate with students via text messaging. We go out and try and find a solution, or we don't find a solution. And then we have the introduction of consumer grade services. So, faculty are trying to use their cell phones, or they're not communicating with students because they don't want to give their cell phone number up for good reasons. Fragmentation is creating a series of disconnected tools that users, administrators, and faculty are wrestling with in trying to serve students and communicate with third parties, researchers, and such. This has created a ton of inefficiency. In the past, there was a focus on integrating back-end systems. So this way, we created a unified front on the front end. But somewhere over the last 5 to 7 years, um, integration has given way to mediation. That's moved out to the end user's requirement. Think of messaging integration. In the past, you had one instant messaging platform, I had a different instant messaging platform, and we could message each other across it. In today's environment, I have a folder of messaging apps. So depending on who I'm communicating with, I may have a different application. We're putting a lot of the onus and overhead onto the end users, and app switching fatigue is real. The amount of apps that are required in order to get work done has just continued and continues to explode on the end users, and it's having with it a real impact to productivity. But then some of the things that are surfacing or that are swimming just under the surface that don't necessarily get the attention that they need is this fragmentation, this inefficiency is creating real downstream impacts on accessibility gaps. Better supporting folks that need access to different channels, to tools within the channels to better serve as we start to move into this more digital native footprint. we can better serve a lot of these accessibility gaps. But the challenge is if the infrastructure doesn't support it, and if you import consumer grade services without the oversight of IT, now you create a giant chasm from a compliance and security perspective. So, legacy systems are really the villain in this story. Teams, Zoom, and then WebEx now are really the right choice for campuses that are looking to enhance their communications infrastructures, because these platforms are so much more than just a video meeting system or just a messaging system. They really have the option to consolidate all of the leading communications needs that you have under one roof. So this creates a super app for the end users. You can integrate all of the different capabilities into these platforms. So this way, I'm creating less work for faculty and staff to use to communicate and collaborate with each other, to collaborate with third parties like research, or to better serve the students that we all exist to educate. And the big key is by eliminating the chasms between fragmented infrastructure, you're also really zippering up the potential vulnerabilities that you have from a compliance and security perspective. So these are the platforms that really are designed for serving students, enabling faculty, and empowering administrators to better serve all of the different needs that they have across these capabilities. We talked about accessibility and inclusion. Um, Digital first platforms are designed to better serve student needs across whatever needs they are. The ability to provide live captions, AI generated transcripts, multi-language support are tearing down the barriers to education and empowering a more open community for students to better learn how they learn instead of forcing them to try and keep up with potential shortfalls in the platforms. And now with asynchronous learning options, you can expand your student body because you're not beholden to not just location. Remote learning solutions have empowered the ability to communicate across distance, but now you're also spanning time. I can deal with time zones. I don't need the students to come to a real-time lecture, which necessitates they be in the same time zone and potentially in the same location. With asynchronous learning, now you can better serve students no matter where they are, and you can expand your student body even further. The stats on the bottom really tell the story. 98% of students find captions helpful for learning. So this way, as you're going, you can actually hear these things. 70% of first generation students prefer fully asynchronous online courses. My wife is one of them. She took a ton of online courses as she was pursuing her higher education, and being able to operate in an asynchronous environment helped her complete her degree and go back into the workforce after being a stay-at-home mom for decades. Security and compliance is crucial, and this is an underseen but rapidly elevating invisibility need for campuses. Higher education institutions are rapidly becoming targets for malware, for ransomware, and a host of other violations. So having the ability to create end-to-end communications that are fully encrypted, and not just communications, but file sharing, creating role-based access controls are becoming crucial for security or for universities and institutions to better protect themselves against all of the riffraff and potential dangers that are out on the internet lurking, waiting to pounce. But the number one key benefit for a lot of institutions is the ability to lower your overall costs. We're all looking to do more with less. And by migrating from legacy infrastructure into modern communications solutions, you can dramatically lower your costs. Your total cost of ownership can go down by over 140%. There's a document, you can find the link on the slide. The Microsoft Teams phone migration was created by Forrester. Take a look at this guide. It really walks you through all of the pieces and how you can realize tremendous cost savings in your telecom budget by simply treating voice as no longer a thing that you buy as a standalone platform, but instead a feature that you turn on in the platforms you're already using. This one quote on the screen really stood out at me. We're looking at an incremental cost reduction per user of about 40%. or in hard dollars, about $20 per user per month. Do the math. You know how many users you have. Imagine saving $20 per user per month on your telecom expense. What would that do to your bottom line? What could that do to help you further lean in and serve students in a more factual way, a more valuable way? So the key benefits are there. You increase student engagement. You can increase faculty efficiencies across different use cases that we're going to talk about in a second. You can drive a stronger institutional reputation because now you can communicate with students, faculty, and alumni and administrators all on the modern channels that we all communicate in our personal lives with. And ultimately, you can do it while driving costs out of the organization, which is the trifecta of solutions and benefits. So let's talk about use cases. How can you apply communications in collaboration across the different use cases in your institution? Let's start with faculty research and collaboration. Today, faculty and researchers typically tend to either leverage legacy infrastructure where it can keep up, but also start to bleed into non-deployed infrastructure, non-managed infrastructure. To paraphrase Jurassic Park, technology finds a way, which can lead to vulnerabilities in compliance. You may start seeing people move to platforms that have things like dissolvable messages or consumer grade services like WhatsApp, because the infrastructure deployed by the faculty, by the institution, doesn't keep up with this infrastructure. It creates security vulnerabilities potentially because some of these applications aren't necessarily encrypted. You lose the ability to create role-based permissions. You lose the ability to create chain of custody where needed and other things. It really gives you a challenge. Whereas these communications platforms, when properly configured, give you the ability to have all of these tools in one application, so the faculty and the researchers with them have a more mediated way to communicate. So the faculty have the ability to send and receive text messages. They have the ability to communicate via WhatsApp in a secure and supported way. They have the ability to communicate via voice or video and share and produce content via collaboration, all within one application that is properly deployed, managed, and maintains compliance by your university's IT infrastructure. So the ability of consolidation provides outstanding benefits for faculty. It gives you the ability to not have to have a million different apps based off what researcher you're talking to. You now have those mediation points of, I can just text with you, the lowest common denominator, SMS, MMS. I can communicate via WhatsApp. Shortly, we'll be adding Apple iMessages, and we'll be adding rich communication services, RCS. So you'll have the ability to communicate on standardized channels. Your researchers may be using their cell phones. They may be using a different service, but we've created that back office like integration. So we're not only increasing productivity on the faculty side, because now they're not dealing with the app switching fatigue. They're not introducing security vulnerabilities by importing consumer grade services or third-party unmanaged products, but you're also doing this in a way that streamlines the workflow overall. Campus-wide communications increases by leveraging these platforms. So when you have urgent, alerts that you need to send out, even beyond the one that springs to everybody's mind around, warning about a potential violent event or anything else, but just something as simple as there's an event happening at a certain location on the university, and we want to either notify the campus body or alert the campus body to avoid that area because of congestion. The ability to not only send those outbound calls, but also not be dependent on channels that may be ignored by parts or all of that student and faculty body. Email is becoming less and less of an attention channel for younger and younger generations. They're looking at more real-time communications channels like text and whatnot. So having all of these capabilities built into a common platform gives you the ability to increase campus-wide communications, because now you're communicating with users on a personal basis based on how they want to be reached and how they want to communicate with the university or institution on the channels that they leverage in a supportable way. You can also speed up and increase communications among different campuses, because let's face it, we're all increasingly moving to a multi-campus environment. As faculty and as staff move from campus to campus, the ability to model your communications after your email becomes crucial. With email, we have one email address that synchronizes across all of the devices that we use, no matter where we happen to be, no matter what network we happen to be connected to. That one email address is where you reach me at. But with voice, every unique device, every unique location usually carries with it a unique phone number. But with these communications platforms having that full centralization, I now have one number reach no matter where I happen to be, no matter what device I happen to be using, no matter what network it happens to be connected to. And I'll take this a step further, no matter how I want to communicate, whether that's via voice or via digital channels. One number reach becomes crucial, and the ability to do a lot of that without the need for an app to embed directly into the cell phone the business phone number. So I don't have to open an app to make that outbound call. I just make the call on my cell, becomes really, really crucial. Technologies built into these platforms without having to expand into a true contact center give you the ability to further enhance student services and support. You can start to deliver virtual services using what you would commonly think of the video meeting platforms, and 90% of students see there's an increase in consumption of student services when you offer those. But also take it a step farther. You can now offer text-based communications with student services. So, I can potentially reach out for counseling, or career guidance, not by a scheduled synchronous time where I've got to be there at a certain moment, but via asynchronous channels like messaging inside of the platforms, or whether external channels. Your students may not necessarily even have a seat on the communications platform, but they have a cell phone. So if they can communicate via SMS, MMS, or WhatsApp, or shortly Apple Messages for Business, those can be ingested by student services. And now you're creating another communications thread to those students to better serve them in the ways that they want to be served, when they want to be served, on the channels that they want to be served on. It also can help your IT team. So you can start to streamline the amount of route technical transactional tasks by deploying AI agents. So they can handle routine requests, things like password resets, or checking on status to see if a platform is updated. They can automate tickets resolution, so they can streamline the ticketing process. They can provide updates without having to have a human involved in those transactional like requests. Voice and SMS empower students to get the answers to the questions that they need without having to wait on overburdened staff to provide those kind of transactional answers. Things like conversational AI, the ability to send and receive SMS messages, not just for the communications channel, but also ticket updates, becomes crucial. And what this does is it frees up the human staff to better work on the strategic, the complicated, the time-sensitive needs for students and faculty and administrators. So being able to do remote support via voice and video in a single common platform can be crucial. And again, the ability to support those digital channels with students, with faculty, to just check in, is this working, is this not working, really becomes a key benefit of leveraging a truly unified communications platform. The last use case that I want to talk about is one that is often underthought of, and that is alumni outreach. We talk a lot when we talk about higher education around, the three on-campus constituencies: your faculty, your students, and your admin. But alumni outreach becomes crucial. And by blending all of these services into a common supported platform, now your alumni outreach becomes more efficient. You can communicate with your alumni via those outbound calling campaigns using this infrastructure, and it's got the call recording, it's got analytics to measure performance. But you can also reach out to alumni and engage alumni via digital channels. We're all on the go. We're all dealing with a ton of calls that we don't necessarily want to answer. Having the ability to reach out and just send a quick text message to alert alumni of a campus event, a town hall, or a fundraising campaign will help you create more successes in those spaces. So let's talk about migration challenges and migration considerations as you're thinking about moving from this legacy infrastructure into a premise, a brand new collaboration environment. Some of the paths that you want to think about start with the actual transition and understanding that this is a journey, not a jump. In order to ensure maximum uptake, you want to follow some of these steps, and it starts with creating a pilot program for early adoption. There's this concept in marketing of the customer adoption bell curve. New products always find their innovators and early adopters before going into the mass market. And to use an analogy, think of this like the iPhone. Your innovators were the people that camped out in front of the stores the day before. They've never touched the new iPhone. They don't know anybody that's got the new iPhone, but they want to be first. They want to be the first to use it. They want to create that feedback loop through using it that enhances the product itself. They know there potentially could be bugs in the very first releases that come out. They don't care. They want to be first. There's that piece to it. The early adopters are a close cousin. They don't camp out in front of the store, but they go on opening day. They have their pre-order. They're not camping out. They're walking into the store. They're picking up their device. Just like innovators, they don't know anybody that's had one of these devices. No one has ever touched one of these devices. They know there could potentially be stability issues or whatnot. But again, they want to be the first to use these devices. And what happens is as these user constituencies walk around with their iPhones, all of a sudden we start to see people, hey, that's the guy I always know has the latest and greatest. These people in the majority, they're influenced by these early adopters. Hey, is that the new iPhone? What does it do? Can you show it to me? What do you think? What new features? And it guides and increases adoption. And this is no different when you're talking about deploying consolidated technology. Find your early adopters, find your innovators, find those influencers within your campus communities that you can get into a pilot program, create a feedback loop with them. So this way it can guide your further deployments out. And then they become influencers out into the rest of the campus. From a user by user perspective, you'll start to see that start to snowball. Then it'll move into a department by department perspective, campus by campus perspective. Once people start hearing about, this new capability and what it can do and what it can achieve from a trusted source out in the field, you'll start to see this happen. And this is the second key. Think transition, not transformation. At the end of the day, do this in small pieces to make sure that you're increasing your adoption rates and adopting the entirety of the platform, not just a fragment of it. The days of cutting over on Friday nights and coming in on Mondays and users embracing 1/10 of what a system can do really are inefficient in today's world. You want to create a world where these tools are intuitive. We want people using more and more of those features. To that point, you want to ease user adoption. You want to create knowledge transfers. You want to create built for purpose solutions for those users, but you also want to facilitate those users as they're kind of transitioning over, giving them the ability to repurpose some of the hardware that they may be depending on, like desk phones if you're a professor and you've got office hours. And having that feedback loop doesn't end with your early adopters. Create that feedback loop as you expand your deployment to the rest of the end user community. So this way they're abreast of new innovation that's coming down. They're sharing how they're leveraging this innovation because you often find things that you don't necessarily think about up front. People are creative. People think of different use cases. You want to popularize those use cases across campus. So create that feedback loop to ensure modern value as people are, sharing knowledge among each other of how they're adopting these things. And it gives you an output for when new innovation comes to these platforms. Because unlike any other product that you buy in your life, you buy a brand new car, you drive it off the lot, that first day is the best day. It all goes downhill from there where, the new car smell fades, the kids leave stuff all over the seats, the car gets dirty. The first day is the best day. With these platforms, because they're cloud-based and because of the subscription-based model, the first day is the worst day. These things are only going to continue to get better with innovation, and AI is moving so rapidly. creating that feedback loop gives you an ability to popularize out this new capability to the user base, and then create that loop where people start adopting it, using it in creative ways, and sharing that among the user base. So there's a lot of things to think about as you're considering a move from legacy to modern infrastructure. So then the question is, all right, well, why should I use SIPPIO? How can SIPPIO help my institution leverage all of this and transition in a supportable way? At SIPPIO, we are built to make calling, texting, faxing, and other capabilities easy, fast, and flexible inside of these leading platforms, Teams, Zoom, and WebEx. We believe technology has just gotten really complicated and really slow. And what we want to do is we want to make it fast to get started. Our platform gives you the ability to have a shopping experience that's as easy as buying a pair of shoes on Amazon. It's fully automated, so you don't have the army of technicians racking and stacking things and whacking away at a keyboard. Because we're fully automated, you can turn on new service faster than you can activate a new Netflix subscription. We want to make it easy to manage, and the way that we do that is through the use of our intuitive online dashboard. Many institutions may actually adopt Teams, Zoom, and WebEx. So having a centralized management portal, kind of your mission control, to manage users on all of those platforms, to even manage the phone services that aren't on those platforms, things like cell phones, fax lines, standalone phone lines for security systems. Being able to manage that telecom inventory in a single pane of glass makes it super easy to keep all of your communications tamed and under control. You also want to be able to support users wherever they happen to be. And with SIPPIO, we give you the simplicity of one hand to shake, one bill to pay service. We can offer coverage in over 80 countries around the world. So if you have remote campuses, if you have admin out in the field doing recruiting, doing student outreach, you have the ability to service them without having to go out and find standalone providers to do that. And ultimately, reliability is key. We want to be reliable forever, and building reliability is no accident. Our platform is Azure native. It's deployed in 9 different Azure regions. Within each region, we're deployed in a high availability model, so everything's duplicated, and we can fail over between 3 zones within each region. So that means this is a carrier grade platform that you do not have to worry about. We offer a 5 nines contractual SLA, which means no more than 5 minutes of unexpected outage time per year, and that is a guarantee from us. We also empower you to migrate at your pace. So you have the ability to either go all the way to Teams Phone. So if you're ready to retire that legacy infrastructure altogether, our Connect solution gives you the ability to do that with no infrastructure required. But if you're in the middle of a contract on your hardware, if you haven't depreciated the last investments you made in servers, you have the ability to use SIPPIO Bridge. We can deliver voice services to your premise-based infrastructure, and then we can add additional capabilities to your collaboration environments, text messaging, fax, and others. We're making it easier than ever to adopt these services through the use of the SIPPIO plans. SIPPIO Lite for $4 per month in the US gives you a calling plan with shared minutes, and it gives you a shared text messaging allowance as well for your university to try. SIPPIO Plus upgrades the text messaging to now unlimited text messaging, inbound, outbound per user. You can also set up shared text messaging boxes. So student services can have one number that is reachable by students, and it's monitored by multiple people in the department. SIPPIO Pro gives you the calling and text messaging. It also adds in call analytics. So if you have users that are providing certain services and you've got call queues delivering to them, great value to understand what's happening and what's happened, how many people are logged in, how many people are on the phone, how many calls came in, who answered the most calls, as well as SIPPIO Care. This is our managed services. So if you ever need changes made to your call queues or to your auto attendants or to your users, SIPPIO Care has you covered. It's included with SIPPIO Pro. It's available as an option for SIPPIO Plus or SIPPIO Lite. So this way you can free your IT staff from having to manage the telephone system. You can have us do that for you with a quick and easy solution. We also offer more services, and we give you the flexibility to turn the dials exactly how you need them. So we've built this really robust library of services. Connect and Bridge, we've already talked about. Those are our voice services. We also have SIPPIO text messaging. It's bundled into our plans, but it's also available as a standalone service, supports SMS, MMS, RCS, WhatsApp for Business, and soon it will be supporting Apple Messages for Business. We've got call center solutions. SIPPIO Pro includes analytics, but if you want to record your calls, we've got a tool for that. If you have a full-blown contact center that you need servicing and you want to have it fully integrated into Teams, our partnership with Solgari gives you the ability to have an AI-powered contact center that's pre-integrated with Teams, ready to go in hours, not months. And we've got a whole host of other services. I'd like to end this session by sharing with you a case study. So Roseman University is an example of a institution with multiple campuses that sought to modernize their fragmented standalone systems into a truly unified solution operating within Microsoft Teams. They had a bunch of Cisco call managers deployed at different campuses. They had fewer and fewer resources from an IT perspective. And what they decided was to find those cost savings by migrating from premise to Microsoft Teams Phone. They took advantage of discounted pricing on the Teams platform. And what they've done through that transition is they've been able to quickly and rapidly modernize. A lot of those migration considerations were things that Roseman had adopted. They found their early innovators, they found their adopters, they found those influencers in the region. And then that created a momentum stream for adoption. One of the challenges that they faced was faculty that wasn't quite ready to let go of their hardware, like their desk phones. So their IT director, Jeremy, challenged them and said, give it 30 days or give it 90 days. You're using speakerphone on your phone all the time anyway. Just use your computer for it. They removed hundreds of devices and they only replaced about 50 of them as they came back. So that lowers their hardware support burden. They've now got backup inventory. They were able to repurpose the phones using standardized SIP protocols. So they didn't have to go out and buy new hardware, but simply by challenging the end users, give it 90 days, but we'll also give you this. If you're not happy, we'll put your device back out. It really shows the power of modernization by creating this migration path that creates those influencers, shows people what's possible, and shows them the value of consolidating these platforms. This has been Future Proofing Campus Communications for Enhanced Outcomes. If you have any questions, please visit our website, sippio.io. Reach out to your business partner or talk to your SIPPIO account manager.